Hi, I'm Pastor Andrew, one of the pastors here at Crosspoint. I just want to take this moment and welcome you to our online broadcast. We're so glad that you can be a part of our family. We hope today's message encourages you, inspires you, and continues the conversation God's already having in your heart. God bless.
Hey guys, thank you so much for tuning in tonight. I want to welcome you to Crosspoint. And I know it's a little strange. You're used to seeing Pastor Josh or Pastor Andrew, maybe even Pastor Chris. But for those of you who don't know, my name is Tim, but everybody seems to know me as the Shoeless Preacher. So you get to listen to me for a little while tonight. I wanted to share a little bit of what I've been seeing in the Bible, what God's been putting in me, and it's been blowing my mind. And because what I'm seeing, it goes against some stuff that I learned as a kid, and I'm talking to different people about it, and I'm finding out a lot of people have been taught the same things I was taught as a kid. So I thought, man, we gotta share this and get this out there. I'm going to start by asking some questions. Is God in control? Is God in control of the earth? For years, that's what I was told about everything. God's in control of everything. And I've questioned a lot of things about that. If God's in control, why do babies die? If God's in control, why do little kids and women get molested and raped and murdered? Why is cancer everywhere? Why are drugs so prevalent? Why are people getting murdered? So many things didn't make sense to me. Jesus said, my kingdom's not of this world. So that I'd question that. If Jesus said my kingdom's not of this world, but he's in control. And then before God destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah, said the Lord went to Abraham. And when he was talking to Abraham, he said, we've come down to see if the things that we've heard are true. Well, if God's running things, shouldn't he know whether or not it's true or not? I didn't understand it. And then when Jesus prayed the Lord's Prayer, our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Then he prayed, thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Well, why would he pray for God's will to be done on earth if he's in control? These things, they mess with me big time. And if you go to 2 Corinthians chapter 4, let me bring it up here, and verse 3 and 4, Paul was talking here, and let me read it. It says, but if our gospel be hid, it's hid to them that are lost, those that don't know Christ. And in whom pay attention, go and read this, because it's a lowercase g for God. In whom the lowercase g, God of this world, hath blinded the minds of them which believe not, lest the light of the glorious gospel of Christ, who is the image of capital G, God, who's our God, who's the Father in heaven, right, should shine unto them. So why would Paul talk about a lowercase g God and then a capital G God if God's in control of everything? Things like this I've questioned for a long time. What's this world full of? It's full of darkness. Pretty much every Christian will tell you that. The world's full of darkness. If it's full of darkness and God's in control, that just didn't add up to me. It didn't make sense, because Ephesians 6 and 12, it says, for we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. If the world's full of darkness and we're battling against rulers of darkness, how is God in control? Like, it just doesn't add up. It doesn't make sense to me. How is Jesus, or how is God in control of everything, and it's full of darkness? I've questioned this for years, and now I'm driving down the road on Friday. I'm at work, and God says, go look up dominion. And I thought to myself, okay, I think dominion means control. So, but I'll go look it up. And I went and looked it up, and it means sovereignty or control. And it started me down a path, because I remember hearing when I was a kid in church about dominion, the man having dominion over the animals. So I thought, well, I grew up in a hardcore King James church, so I'll go into the King James Version, and I'll go research it, check it out. So I'm reading Genesis 1, first chapter. Genesis 1, verse 26. This is a verse you guys have heard hundreds of times, I'm sure. If you grew up in the church, you might have heard it thousands of times, because this one's used a lot. And I'm going to really, really emphasize the punctuation, because the punctuation in this verse, oh my gosh, it's so important. But it says in Genesis 1:26, King James Version, and I'll explain why I'm saying King James Version in a minute. But it says, and God said, comma, let us make man in our image, comma, after our likeness, colon, and let them have dominion over all the fish of the sea and over all the fowl of the air. Well, let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, comma, and over the fowl of the air, comma, which are the birds, and over the cattle, comma, and over all the earth, comma, and over every creeping thing that creeps upon the earth. But back that up, after the cattle, comma, and over all the earth, comma. Five simple words. He's given man dominion, which is control, over all the earth and over the animals of the earth. Blew my mind. Because God's plan before he ever created man was to give dominion to man, give control to man. Not just over the animals, but over all the earth. And I'd just been in Genesis maybe a month earlier, and I thought, how in the world did I not see that just a little bit ago when I was reading in there? And I was reading in the NIV. And so immediately I changed translations, and I ran to the NIV, and I looked. And it changed a little bit, because it says, then God said, comma, in the NIV, let us make man in our image, comma, in our likeness, comma, so that they may rule over the fish in the sea and the birds in the sky, comma, and over the livestock and all the wild animals, comma, and over all the creatures that move along the ground. They left out 5 simple words, and over all the earth. And I thought, wow. So I went to the New King James Version to check that. It agreed with the King James. It had those 5 words in it. So then I read the NLT. I went to the NLT. It was like the NIV. The Contemporary English Version, I checked that. It lined up with it left out the 5 words. And I thought, well, one had to add to or one had to take away from. So I went to the source, Hebrew translation to English. And the Hebrew translation to English had those 5 words in it, and over all the earth. I'm not one that is a hardcore King James preacher, but if they left those 5 words out, those 5 words have a great deal of meaning in them. Surrounded by those commas. If God's intent was to give us dominion over all the earth, and they decided to leave that out, you make your own call on that. That affected me greatly, because that changes the whole meaning of a lot of things. And But if man had dominion, somewhere along the lines, what happened? Because I mean, the animals came to Adam to be named, so he had dominion. I mean, why else would the animals be going to him to be named? I mean, that's just, and it says right here in 26 of the King James Version that Adam was given dominion. Before he ever was created, that was the plan. So God gave him dominion. But man kind of screwed up in verse 3. Well, screwed up is probably a great understatement. What happened? The snake came and convinced them that the tree of knowledge was good. It was good to take in. And after God had told them, do not take of this, or you'll surely die, God told them. Well, they chose to believe the snake over God, and they traded their dominion for sin. And how do I get there? Go to Luke 4. This is where Jesus has just been baptized. The Holy Spirit descended on him, went into the wilderness, fasted for 40 days. We're going to Luke 4, 5 through 8. It says, and the devil, taking him up into a high mountain, showed unto him all the kingdoms of the world in a moment of time. And the devil said unto him, all this power I'll give to you, and the glory of them. For it has been delivered to me. It was given to me. And whoever I will give it to. And thou there, if you'll just bow down and worship me. And Jesus said, get behind me, Satan, because it's written that you shall worship the Lord thy God, and him only shall you serve. Right there, the devil told Jesus, I've got it. I've got the control. I've got the power, the dominion. I have it. That's why the world's so full of darkness. They're rulers of darkness. He is the God of this world, the lowercase g God, who's blinding the world from seeing Christ. And it's right there. So now, he's so slick, he's so sly, because what he's doing, he's constantly, he's accusing man to God. He's done that from the beginning. But he's accusing God to man because he's convinced us that God's in control of everything. So if God's in control of everything, he's taken your mom from cancer. He took your baby. He's causing all this stuff to happen. So what's it make you feel like? It makes it feel like God's stealing your loved ones from you. God's not stealing them. The thief is the one that's come to steal, kill, and destroy. John 10:10. The thief is the one that comes to steal, kill, and destroy. And meanwhile, he's laughing behind our backs because he's accusing God to us, and we're believing him. Because God's in control of everything. God's letting all this stuff happen. If God's in control of it, why wouldn't he stop it from happening? See, because we've been confused. We've been completely misled. The thief has just completely tricked us. And when somebody loses somebody they love, I've heard so many times people say, oh, sweetie, God just needed another angel. Please quit telling people that. Oh my goodness, you are confusing people. Please stop saying that. If God needed another angel, he'd have spoke one into existence. He didn't need to take somebody's loved one. He's not taking your loved one. He'll receive your loved one. And I don't want you to misunderstand me either, because when I say that God's not in control, I'm not saying he's not sovereign, because Jesus said, my kingdom is not of this world, but it's not of this world. See, and I know a lot of people will fall back on, well, when these little ones die, the Bible's clear. It says that man has an appointed time to die. And it does say that in Hebrews 9. It says that man has an appointed time to die. And I had always seen that as, like my time's going to be, say, March 3rd, 2052 at 12:02 p.m. or something like that. But I never understood that appointed time it's strictly because we've exposed ourselves to sin. What God say? If you eat of that fruit, you shall surely die. Now they ate of that fruit. Adam lived 930 years before he died. Now, if you eat of that fruit, you shall surely die. To me, sounds like after he ate that fruit, he probably should have just died. But it's because they were exposed to sin. They took on sin. Romans 6:23 says, the wages of sin is death, but the gift of God is eternal life. See, the payment for sin is death. So one day you're going to die. There's no question of that because we've been exposed to sin. But you go through this whole Bible, God is a God of restoration. He restores everything. And that's why Christ had to come down to die. He came down to die to restore us to everything that God meant for us to be. When Christ died and rose again, he restored us. Now we're right with the Father. If we accept Christ, we bring him on, we take on him, he washes us. He takes his blood and cleanses us of every bit of sin and unrighteousness, unholiness. It's all gone. We're now blameless. We're holy. We're righteous because of what he's done for us. He's restored us to where now the Father sees us as blameless. So now when the devil's accusing us to him, I think God doesn't even really understand what he's talking about because he doesn't see any of that. Look at these people that you're doing. They're so full of hate and greed. And not this one. He's blameless because he's covered. He's covered in my son's blood. How amazing is that? And like the thing that just blew my mind the other day was Genesis 3. That's where it was. Genesis 3. What did the devil say? Because when Eve said, well, God told us that we can't eat from the tree of knowledge or else we'll surely die. And he said, you won't surely die. God's afraid you'll be like gods. And I kind of look at it like, I mean, this is simply my opinion. This is not out of the Bible. But it's like God said, you know what, but that's a pretty good idea. I'm going to send my son down. He's going to restore him to everything, and including the power and dominion over you, because I'm going to put my spirit in them. And they're going to have my spirit living inside of them. So in a sense, they're going to be like God, because they're going to do all the things that my son was able to do and greater. That's what it says. It says, you'll do the things that I've done and greater. Oh my goodness. Heal the sick, the blind see, the dead are raised. We'll do these things in greater. Why? Because when we take him on, he gives us, he's traded us every bit of who we were and makes us every bit of who he is. I mean, it's amazing. All we have to do is just confess with our mouth, believe with our heart that he is Lord, and then give of ourselves. We become selfless to him. We deny ourselves, pick up our cross, and follow him. Oh my goodness. He simplified it so much for us. He says, if you want to save your life now, you're going to lose it in eternity. And what that means is if you want to keep your life for you, live however you want to, that's up to you. But it goes on to say, but if you'll give up your life for my sake, for me, give it up for me, you'll save your life in eternity. Now, it says that multiple times in the Bible. Multiple times. If he says it that many times about giving your life up for his sake, deny yourself, pick up your cross, follow me, he probably wants us to get it. It's probably kind of important. It's probably something we really want to focus on. So we got to let ourselves go. Get rid of us. Because when we get rid of us, who are we exposing? We're exposing him. So essentially, we're putting him in control of us and everything around us. We're allowing God to move. And why? Because we're giving ourselves to him. We're letting go of everything who we are so we can be all of him and let him have every bit of us. That's why it's so important that we deny ourselves, pick up our cross, and follow him. See, and I really want to stress, God is sovereign. There are times that God had stepped in, even though God's not running things down here because it's the God of this world, the rulers of darkness. God still would step in times where need be. The Red Sea doesn't just part by itself and then dry land appear where there was water. things like that don't happen. Doesn't just suspend the darkness from coming and extend the daylight for Joshua. Those things are where God, being sovereign, was able to step in and do what was needed to be done. But it wasn't for selfish ambition. Because there's so many people that say, well, then why didn't God do that for my loved one, or in this instance, or in that instance? It's not a selfish gospel. If you're in it for what he can do for you so you can have a better day, so things just go great for you, I'm sorry, bud, but you're looking in the wrong place, because it says deny yourself, get rid of you, pick up your cross, follow me. I hope somebody here today, man, oh man, it blew my mind the way it all pieced together. And man, he's so amazing, and it's right here in his word. Man gave it away. God gave it to us, man gave it away, but God made a way to restore every bit of us. And we can be restored, be right with the Father in everything. We just got to choose him. We got to step into him. I know I keep saying it, but man, the Bible keeps saying it too. Get rid of yourself. Let your flesh die. Put yourself into the ground. Let your flesh die so that he may live through you. It says that Christ was the light of the world. We're meant to be the light of the world because we have him in us. So I really hope that this y'all weren't upset with me when I started into this, because I know it sounds a little blasphemous when I start to say that God's not in control, but it lines up with Scripture. So I hope you guys have a great day. Love you guys. We'll see you next time.
What's up, Crosspoint? Thank you so much for tuning in to today's message. We hope it encourages you and empowers you to continue to reach people, to reach their godly purpose. I just want to encourage you to smash the like button and to share this, to spread the word and to spread the gospel. Thank you so much again for tuning in.